Hi, thank you for bearing with me with technical difficulties. I really appreciate it. Let me fix that mess right there. Okay. All right, now that we have makeup mishaps all taken care of, thank you so much for bearing with me with the technical difficulties. I really appreciate that. So here we are. We're live with night 3 of the live stream spectacular. This is all for creatives. Again, this is about doing the inner work and the outer work so that you can actually have a creative career and live a life that you absolutely love, right? So this is kind of catered more toward people who are maybe still in the 9 to 5 and are wondering what to do, like how to get from the job that maybe they're not a big fan of, or maybe that they absolutely hate, and get into an actual career. In the last 2 nights, we've talked some about like the psychological and inner workings. We talked about how the ego is not necessarily your enemy, and if you treat it as such, you run the risk of possibly fragmenting yourself even more. If there's opposition inside of you, then there's a lack of integration. When there's a lack of integration, okay, anyway, so tonight what we're going to be doing is discussing like some of the more practical business aspects of it. Like I said, we're going to get down to business and some of the things that I've seen, that I've experienced, and kind of taking all of the psychological aspects and starting to take them into the real world. Because once we know how to align ourselves, and once we know how to like create a really powerful mindset that helps us ride the waves that do that, it gives them the space to provide for their family. It gives them the space to go and pursue their dreams and put more and more beauty into the world, create more compelling conversations than the ones that I see, or I used to see happening. If you watched the live stream last night, you know that I remove myself from conversations that don't really serve the highest, greatest good. Okay, so first of all, why do creatives even need to care about business? You're an artist, right? Like, you're an artiste. You might wonder or think that maybe business is for like kind of stuff and they had to do it because they had no choice but to like create an offer or a product or a service that like didn't exist, and then go out into the world and say, hey world, look, would you like to spend some money on this thing that didn't exist, but now because of me it exists, and how, you know, let's do business together. If you think about it, as an artist who wants to have a career in art, like, let me be really clear that I am speaking to the people who want to have a career being creative, right? If it's a hobby or anything else, then this is definitely not the philosophy or video or live stream for you. Okay, so if you think about it, as an artist or a creative, you're doing the exact same thing. You're saying, hey, look world, I made this thing, it never existed before, it came from my heart and my soul, would you like to pay me some money for it? Or would you like me to pay some money to make something specifically for you, a commission, right? So when I see that artists are ready to take control of their own destiny, one of the things that I think is really, really important is to maybe treat yourself as a business. Like, if you look at my business structure, it's literally me. I am the business. Your art is the business, right? So like, my company is called Erin Vasquez Success Coaching LLC. I am a limited liability corporation, and I treat myself as such. I encourage artists to do the exact same thing, because do these things, you're going to want to create operations, containers, and standards around how all of those things work, right? And here's part of it. It's like, back in the day, before the internet, before social media, there were all these gatekeepers, right? Like, if you wanted to be on a television show, you had to be plucked from on high. Again, I'm going to recommend James Altucher's Choose Yourself. I put it in the notes on the day one event, so go back to there. Choose Yourself by James Altucher. You had to be plucked from the heavens above by some executive at a network, and they would say, you are the chosen one, you are Michael J. Fox, and you're going to be in the sitcom forever and ever and ever. The gatekeepers are gone. They're absolutely gone, because we have YouTube now. Netflix seems to be quite generous. If people have a thing that they can create, they can go out and create it now. So the good news is that there's limitless possibilities, right? Self-publishing, me wanting to coach people. I don't have to coach people just in Las Vegas. In fact, I'm a military spouse, so my intention in starting this company was, my services are going to serve people all over the world, right? There are no limits anymore. So the business, right? So maybe someday you're going to have a manager, an agent, a social media manager, a publicist, all of that good stuff. And as you start creating more resources for yourself, as you start seeing more and more revenue come in, I strongly recommend getting a team of support as you do that. But in the meantime, it really behooves you to be your own boss, to know your own systems, to set up your own operations, so that when you bring all of those other people or that you are aware of everything that's going on, no one's taking advantage of you. Of course, if you do a lot of the mindset work that we go through in Design Your Destiny, you're going to be a lot more aware before you let people into your life as to what their intentions are. Doesn't matter what their intentions are, as to whether or not it feels good for you, like a good fit for you. You won't be making codependent choices. You won't be making choices out of the idea of should or anything like that. But okay, so it behooves you to know absolutely everything about your business and the business operations, okay? So that way you also know your standards of quality. You'll know that when you hire people on if they're doing something the right way or the wrong way. And if someone calls in sick or whatever that means these days, it doesn't really mean much. But if someone is unable to perform the function that they were hired for, you can go into your email platform and write up the email. You can go into your social media account and post the Instagram post. A lot of people, that's not going to be a problem, but I have clients who are getting started on this journey, like maybe in their 5th or 6th decade of their life, and that's a little overwhelming for them, and they just want to hire someone younger. But it really does behoove you to know what is going on, because then people know that like you're a real boss, that you have like control over this little domain, because it is your brand and it is your narrative. I'm not encouraging being a control freak per se, but I am saying that it is really important that you know what is going on. Okay, so I'm done beating that point into the ground. Hey, just like the last 2 nights, I'm not going to do a formal Q&A. I'll pause every once in a while and ask if there's any questions. Go ahead and put your questions into the comments. If I seem to be ignoring them, it's because there's something weird going on with my connection right now. So if you need to repeat the questions, that's totally fine. I will pause right now and see if anyone has any questions about why creatives should care about business in the first place. Okay, so business as a creative thing, like I was saying earlier, not unlike writing a song or painting a painting or acting in a play or writing a book or whatever it is, business is actually the art of creating something that didn't exist before and filling a need and then putting it into the world and saying, hey, what do you guys think? It's very similar to art. So if you're having a mind block around it, around like, oh, why do I have to like go do this? I don't want to do this, someone else. I want you to tap into some of the most resourceful states there are, which are curiosity and creativity. You're a creative, so creativity, you got it. So like you can be really curious about how running a business would look to you. And I also want to say that when you start going down these rabbit holes, the internet is full of people saying that these are the rules for social media, these are the rules for email marketing, these are the rules for networking, these are the rules for entertainment industry networking, and this and that, and blah blah, like on and on and on. I want to say something about that in the sense that there is some valuable information out there for sure. And as a beginner, of course you're going to want to gather information. Maybe you don't want to like go around and just like shooting off at the hip. You want to sort of minimize the downside as much as you can, but as a beginner you're going to mess up, or it's not, I don't even want to say mess up. It's not messing up. It's learning. It's going through the process and making adjustments and seeing what feels right and what doesn't feel right. Again, from last night, like what can be connected to the values that are behind your goals? What can be connected directly to the goals that like produce even more values? And just playing with the relationship of all of those things. Are you starting to see how like all of the things that I'm talking about are really, they're not separate from each other. They're all interrelated. So there's going to be these people, myself included, saying, here's a way that you can conduct business. But what I want you to do is get into that heart space, away from the ego. Because there's a lot of copy out there written saying like, do this and you'll have 10,000 Instagram followers, and you might see people in your industry that have 10,000 Instagram followers, and wouldn't it be amazing to be an influencer? That's the ego talking right there. So yes, it would be amazing to be an influencer. That's definitely an asset that gives you leverage. Absolutely, I am not denying the value of that. What I'm saying is, be careful where your intentions are. If it's to serve the ego in the sense that you're scared that you won't be successful if you don't have X amount of Instagram followers, or fill in the blank for whatever it is for you, then you're going to want to make sure that you kind of like shift into something else that feels really good. I know a lot of people in my industry, the coaching industry, Actually someone that I worked for a while, her business was going really, really well, and then she was pulled in by the siren song of like make seven figures. The thing is, before that, she was fine, man. Like, she was living a really, really good life, even by her standards, and she's from a very affluent background too. She was doing good. She was fine. And then it was like, oh, look at all these other people who are doing 7 figures. So she started like, you know, I'm not saying this because she's bad. It's because our ego is easily appealed to. So she started like, it was almost like FOMO. She had a fear of missing out on like, oh, if all these other coaches can do it, then I can do it too. And she shifted a bunch of things that weren't necessarily in alignment with her purpose. It was just kind of this thing that triggered her where she's like, oh, I should just go make 7 figures. There's nothing wrong with making 7 figures. There is something wrong with it if it's not in alignment, if it's not grounded, if there's not a really good heart-centered intention behind it, right? So make sure that when you're looking at your goals, when you're looking at the numbers, when you're looking at the tactics and strategies that you're deciding to employ for your business, remember that you're a creative and that you get to collect all of this information from people that you know, like, and trust, right? And make it your own, basically. So how do you decide who to follow and what to do? Well, this is what I do. I look at people who offer a similar service, who have similar values, and are living a similar lifestyle, all to what I desire. So there's a coach that I watch. Her name is Nisha Moodley. She's very, very like heart-centered, lives in the Bay Area, an area of the world that I absolutely adore. So there's a certain narrative in the Bay Area, like AKA culture or whatever, that I identify with. So I trust that her narrative kind of appeals to something that appeals to me. She has a young child. She had a child a little bit later in her 30s, just like I did. And I kind of look at her and it's like, okay, so what is she doing? How does she handle social media? What kind of offers does she offer? Da-da-da-da-da. I do not go out and immediately copy her or model her or anything like that. I kind of sit with it, and then I go and look at another coach who's living a very affluent lifestyle. She's totally living her best life. She's absolutely amazing, and she seems to have a really good relationship with a resource called money. Okay, I didn't really like build or grow up with that relationship, so what can I learn from her, right? So if you're an artist, you might want to look at an artist that might have a similar style of creativity to you, that is living life as a full-time artist, that seems to have the kind of income, lifestyle, all of that good stuff that you have, and then kind of check them out. Check out their website, check out their Instagram, check out their YouTube, do media research, see what they did, reach out to them on social media. Like, it never hurts to be like, hey, how did you do this? How did you do that? Sometimes they might not respond, but sometimes they might, right? So it can be a lot of fun. It takes a lot of curiosity. It takes a lot of things working, a lot of things not working, right? So I made an offer earlier this year, and it was based out of ego. Basically, it's like, oh, you should be doing this, right? Like, this will be the easy and like means to an end to something, blah 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 blah. Look at everyone else, they're doing it. And then I took a course on how to promote the thing that I was doing, and it wasn't grounded in like psychology or mindset or anything, which is totally my jam, so it wasn't a good fit. This person is really, really good at what she does in terms of the mechanics and everything, but I have a different belief system. So check for that integrity, check for that alignment when you're deciding who to look at, and then have fun with it. Don't put pressure on yourself for it to work immediately, because it might. I don't want to take away that possibility, but very likely it might not, which is why we worked on the mindset stuff first, right? Because sometimes when it doesn't work, it can be discouraging or like deflating to the ego, or just, like things like that. So that's why we did the mindset stuff. That's why we know how to like shift back into a more positive story that produces a different mood around curiosity. Like, oh, okay, so that didn't work in terms of me treating myself as a business. I'm curious. How can I be creative and try something else, given all of these other tools and ideas that I'm aware of from these people that I know, whether it's a coach, whether it's another artist, whether it's a class that you're taking at university, no matter what it is, be curious, be creative with it, okay? And so here's, I'm going to get into some of the specifics. Again, there's no hard and fast rule about anything, but I want to tell you, after years and years and years of assisting other entrepreneurs and then going out into business for myself and building a lot of relationships over the years, I want to tell you, or touch basically on the importance of networking. So, like social media best practices and classes and like tips and all of that, I'm going to be going more into that in two of the modules of my Design Your Destiny course. By the way, early bird pricing still available until Sunday. If you're feeling any of these live streams, I would love to have you in the course. But anyway, tonight I want to deep dive into the most important thing, because no matter what, technology is going to change, social media is going to change, the rules around how we interact with each other is going to change as technology continues to rapidly evolve. But what is never going to change is the importance of relationships, okay? So this is what I want to talk about. I want to talk about networking. Networking, when you hear it on just like kind of a glib level, you might have an idea of like running around giving your business card to people and going to events and your elevator pitch and all of that good stuff. Yes, that is important, but I want to invite you to take a different orientation to networking. First of all, let me pause here for questions, if anyone has questions. Who's here, by the way? It doesn't tell me who's here. Reveal yourself. Just kidding. Only if you want. But I want to know who I'm talking to. Whoever it is, I'm really grateful that you're here. Thank you for being here. Thanks for hanging out with me. Again, I'm not going to do a formal Q&A, so fire them off at will. Okay, so networking. You're actually building relationships. Hi, Kath. Oh, yeah, you're here again. It's good to see you. Thank you for joining. I appreciate it. So networking, here is the different orientation that I invite you to take. It's building relationships, and I want you to think about your personal relationships, how they were built over time, whether it was with a romantic partner or a friend or something like that. You're actually building trust, and you don't necessarily want to go into a relationship saying, I need this from you. Like, think about it, like when you're dating for keeps. Like I think about when I made the decision that I was ready to get married, and I was dating to get married. Like, it was different than just like playing around, and it was a different orientation, right? So if I went into the first date with these people that I was going on dates with after I had made that decision to get married. Hi, Ben, Kath and Ben. Oh my gosh, you guys are like so new to my world. I'm really glad that you've been here on the live stream. So thank you for being here. Thanks for like showing who you are. Welcome again. It's been so nice spending these last few evenings with you. Anyway, think about it. If I had gone into my first date with my now husband and said, hey, this is what I need. I need you to do X, Y, and Z, to provide for me emotionally, because I'm an independent ass woman and I don't need none of your money, honey. And I need you to ride these emotional waves with me. I need you to commit to da-da-da-da-da. If I had gone into the first date with that, do you think that maybe he would not have invited me to dinner a couple of days later? I would say probably not, right? Like, absolutely probably not. It's kind of the same thing with networking. There's an understanding in networking that we're all there to produce business. We all want something from each other. But what you're going to find, the more networking situations that you put yourself in, there is a common thing of like neediness, right? Where people come up and say, this is who I am, this is what I need, do you know anyone who fits that description? And it's almost like this, instead of like saying, that's a little bit different than being like, who are you? What are you doing? What are your dreams? Oh my God, asking people about their dreams and their goals. And by the way, I spoke so much about goals and how like important they are. I'm thinking about next week doing another live stream, kind of like going into there's an art to setting goals, right? So I think I'm going to do that next week. It hit me today. I was like, that's like, it all begins and ends with that. Okay, side note done. Okay, people love talking about their goals. People love talking about themselves. And the more that you have people open up about themselves to you, there's a couple of things that are going to happen. They are automatically going to start liking you, even though you're not saying shit, right? Like, or maybe you're not saying shit at the beginning. But when people actually get someone to listen to them, like actually listen to them, do you know how effing rare that is? It's part of why my industry and the psychiatric industry exist, because people just want to be heard in a really meaningful way. You don't have to be trained, you don't have to be a licensed therapist to give that gift to people, especially when you're building these relationships. So people start to like you and they won't know why, okay? They won't know why. And then what else is going to happen? Oh, you're going to get information. You're going to get really, really valuable information. And it might not be information that ever helps you sell a painting, ever helps you get a record deal, ever helps you get on stage or on a television show. But it's going to give you information that you'll notice over the years. You're going to start making connections that you wouldn't have necessarily made before, because we're here to talk about business, right? And if you're going to treat yourself as a business, you're going to learn from other professionals in other industries. And since you're creative, you'll be able to take what they do, maybe in tech, maybe in health, maybe in wellness, and be like, oh wow, I wonder if I applied it to my business, my artistry business, whatever it is, and this way, if that would work, right? And it's a byproduct of your special brain and your way of doing things that myself, any other business guru or whatever out there hasn't come up with yet. So you're going to start collecting information. And you're going to collect information that's going to be of value to you, and maybe it will help you sell a painting or a book, or help you find a creative partner or a collaboration. Those things are really, really great, but if you go in there desperate for that, or like putting a bunch of expectation on that being the result, then you're going to be really disappointed. I go into networking calls all the time, and my expectation is never, ever, ever I'm going to get a client. I'm really curious about these people. The other day I was on a phone call with someone who was a lawyer for several decades, lived a high life, and then decided, screw it, I'm gonna go I'm gonna go do a movie production. Yes. Wait a minute, Ben, I'm actually curious. The line between sharing heart and creativity is really thin. Would you be more specific about that? I want to make sure that I understand, and I don't want to riff from assumptions. Okay, so anyway, This guy went from lawyering to Hollywood bigwig to clothing designer to his art is going to be shown in some shows. And I just get to learn about all these things, and that was really exciting for me. And then before you know it, he's asking about me, what I do. So I just started like talking about it, and now we're exploring the idea of maybe him being a one-on-one client. It's not a good fit for the course that I'm offering right now. But and that just gets to be an added bonus, right? Like that's a totally added bonus that happens. And then in other phone calls, a lot of people have no desire to be around a life coach in any way whatsoever, and they took the call with me just to like prove their misgivings or skepticism about life coaches, which is totally fine. I don't give a shit. So there's no attachment there, right? Okay, so getting back to it, what happens when you're just asking questions and really listening to people? You get information, you get to learn about other industries, and then you get to learn about what these people need, whether it's something you provide or something that you know someone else provides that you can connect them with. If you're able to connect them with someone that meets their need, even if you don't see a dime from the deal, you have been of massive, massive value, and you're building your social currency. You're building trust. So people will be thinking about you in a really positive way. Here's another thing that happens. Okay, so when you're finding out what people love, usually they let you know about something creative that they are. Okay, so it cuts off after something creative they are doing. And every time I press see more, it just gives me all of the emojis. That is sharing passions. Yes, Ben, absolutely. Sharing passions equals great networking because it gets to a real connection. It gets past the on the surface bullshit, and that's ultimately what you want to get past. Buying it's not a rational decision, right? If you think about it, people are emotional for a lot of, like, if we're talking about art, if we're talking about signing people on to a record deal or something like that, if we're talking about higher end products and everything, people aren't doing it out of rationality. They're doing it out of emotion, right? So like for sure in my industry, people aren't like rationally like, oh, it seems like a really practical idea to go get a life coach today. No one's treating a contract with me like they're picking up a bottle of San Pellegrino. That's not what's happening with me. It's an emotional decision. And so when you can get to people's hearts, which is what you do as artists, right? Like you appeal to people's hearts. Which is why I love you guys and why I've dedicated my entire practice to helping creatives, in case I haven't hammered that point home. Okay, so that does create great networking. So the more information that you receive on other people, the more that you can really help them. And when people are truly helped and really served, think about a time when you were helped by someone who had like no skin in the game per se. Like the other day I got a direct message from one of my friends, and she's actually a coach too, and she's a really good coach, but she introduced me to someone else. Instead of taking this or pursuing a client relationship with this woman, she introduced this woman to me because she knew that we might be a better fit and that I might have a better service or program for this woman than she would. And I didn't ask for that. Like, it was just one of those things, like, boom, in my inbox, here's someone to explore a potential relationship with. That's so valuable. So do you think that the next time I meet someone who will fit her program, do you think I'm immediately going to send them her way instead of like enrolling them in the course or enrolling them in one-on-one coaching? It's absolutely amazing. So it's going into it with almost like a giving attitude instead of like the orientation of like, what can I get from this? What can I get from this? Like, give me, give me, give me. You'll stand out from the crowd and people will literally say to you, you're like a breath of fresh air. or you're really refreshing, because so that differentiates you in itself. So people will want to talk to you more. They won't feel suffocated. They won't feel like you're an energy vampire. In fact, they'll feel like they've received a lot of value just from hanging out with you. So that's networking. Another thing that I really, again, I'm going to recommend this app. It's called SHAPR, Shaper. Again, it's like LinkedIn and Tinder had a baby. You swipe left, you swipe right. So when you're getting to know people digitally, and like, I'll talk more and more about like the tactics and the Design Your Destiny course, but again, technology moves so quickly. I just want to talk about the fundamentals. This can be any digital communication or real live communication. This is something that makes me shut down a conversation all the time. The digital equivalent of like walking up to you and saying like, hi, like for me, I feel like this would be the wrong approach. Hi, my name is Erin. I'm a life coach and I serve creatives. My programs are da-da-da-da-da and they cost da-da-da-da-da. Do you know anyone who's willing to commit to their future today, right? Like that feels really, really gross. And I get a lot of emails or like, I guess direct messages in those apps that are basically the same way, you know, instead of building rapport, instead of asking questions, even maybe just as worse or maybe worse than that is when I open up a conversation with a question, especially in these apps, I'll probably ask about 3 questions before I shut down the conversation if they haven't asked a question back to me, if that makes sense. So, if I'm asking questions like, what brings you to the app? What are you working on right now? Cool. How long have you been a musician? What kind of introductions are you looking for, right? Like not offering any information about myself unless they ask. You can decide whether that feels good to you or not. In your communications, I find that when people are like, I'd really like to know what you do to help creatives, and then I go into it, they really want to know, you know, and that opens up a really cool conversation. But anyway, what I'm saying is that if someone does not ask questions back within about 3 interactions, I shut the conversation down because it's one-sided. I don't enjoy pulling teeth. Like, again, think about dating. Like, what if you were on a first date and you were asking all the questions and they gave you answers and then just kind of sat there? So you could be having dinner and being like, hey, how was your day? My day was good. And because you don't want to have dinner in silence, you say, cool, so tell me more about your job. Oh, I'm a really brilliant artist. I just got a commission. It's really cool. And then they don't ask a question back. Is this someone who is stimulating you? Is this someone you want to build a relationship with? Is this someone that you feel like you would gain value from? Again, you don't want to go into a networking situation with a what's in it for me. But on the other hand, like I said last night, you want to be in conversations that are of value. You want to be in conversations, like, and that's a give and take, right? And it should be that way in your life. You are worthy of receiving mental stimulation, of receiving money, of all of that good stuff, of having relationships that really fill you up, of having conversations that ignite you and excite you. Again, that sharing passions, that like getting connected on a real heart level. So important. Okay. Anything else about networking that I need to talk about? Small talk is not the devil. It's not. If you don't deep dive into the sharing the passions and the heart connection immediately, do not fret. This was something that I struggled with. I wanted to get down to the nitty gritty. I'm a coach. I want to get into your mind and your heart and figure out what is working and making you tick and all of that. but it is okay. Small talk is not shallow. Small talk is not wasting your time. Look at small talk as a way to build rapport and build a connection. And sometimes there are some people who are not Sagittarius, a little shyer. They need a little bit more pulling out of the shell. So kind of check out people's style, right? Like, the meaning of communication, again, isn't necessarily what you want to say, it's the result that you want to get. So if you think that there is a right way of communicating, and you hold on to that right way of communicating, like for me it was like, I'm gonna skip over this bullshit small talk, it doesn't mean anything, we're gonna get to the heart of the matter. That does not necessarily produce the result that I would like, which is a nice deep connection and a mutually beneficial relationship with people that I can serve either through introductions, maybe my services, whatever it is. Excuse this jet flying over. People coming to Vegas, making mistakes. Anyway, sometimes if people are a little bit shyer and need a little bit more of a warm-up, it's necessary to have the small talk to get to the deeper connection at one point. And by the way, not everyone needs to have like a deep, heartfelt connection. We don't need to show everything or show our hand. And I might be projecting, but that was something I used to like let everything out on my sleeve. I try to be transparent and vulnerable to let people know like where I've been and what I've overcome, because I'm not only like an advocate of my services, but I'm a beneficiary of them, and I want people to know that I'm not just like selling like snake oil. But I know in the past when I was like really emotive and just giving way too much information up front, that it would just, people would be like, whoa, okay, well, later. Again, think about the dating, you know? If people laid out all their cards and was like, this is the crappy thing that happened to me when I was 5, and blah blah blah, and now now I suffer from this and this, like, the person who might have been a really good partner for you might have needed a little more time to like warm up to that reality. I'll pause here for a sip of water and any questions. Okay, how are we on time? Okay, cool. We have 13 more minutes. So one of the things that I really recommend, and I am going to do, like I said, a live stream about this next week. This all begins with goals, right? Like, if we have a vision for the future, if we know where we want to go, then we can know like what we want to accomplish, who we want to connect, what conversations we want to be in, how to who to model in our businesses and everything. We can tie that to our goals. Our goals can be tied to our values, so that we're always in integrity and always in alignment, so that our mindset stays really strong as we go through the ups and downs, as we make awkward mistakes and do silly things, and as we're learning, because we're having a human experience, and then we beat ourselves up. But that's why the mindset stuff is really important. The goals. Okay, so the goals are going to be really important, but I wanted to tell you just some of the high level things that seem to be pretty essential for creatives. Again, there are no hard and fast rules about any of this. Anytime someone is saying this is the way that it must be done, otherwise you're going to fail, or they're promising you this is the way to everlasting success forever and ever and ever, there's no other way, absolutely not, they're full of shit, right? Like, so like for instance, my services in my course, I believe 1000% in them, that they are absolutely wonderful and of high service to the right people. I don't get to determine who the right people are. The right people know that it's like the service or the course for them, right? So I just want you to be aware of that. So like as you go and like look at how to get more Instagram followers or how to do the best Facebook Live ever, pay attention to what feels good to you. Pay attention to that heart center before you like pull the trigger or, you know, press buy or anything like that. Go into your heart, really evaluate whether it's the right fit for you or not. Okay. And so with that being said, these are some of the things that I highly recommend for just getting started, for just building a foundation. And it doesn't have to be perfect, because it's never going to be perfect, but sometimes putting these things into place sort of causes momentum on an unconscious level if you just create the containers. So a website, going and creating a WordPress, Squarespace, or Weebly or Wix, whatever it is for you, some kind of account, and start setting up that website. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Actually creating the container and letting the universe know that this is a place where you're going to say to the world, hey world, this is me, this is what I do, would you like to exchange money with me? Because this is what I do, and it's of high value and worthy of massive compensation. That's something you can say to yourself all the time. My work is of high value and worthy of massive compensation. It's of high service and worthy of massive compensation. Say it over and over and over again until you believe it in your bones, okay? All right. So that's number one. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect, just setting it up. In Design Your Destiny, there's going to be like tutorials on what to look for, how to think about it, how to structure it. There's going to be assignments where I teach you like how to model the kind of website that you think would work best for you. I'm actually looking at really good examples for all different kinds of creative endeavors, so I can really teach you effectively on that. Okay, so, but in the meantime, just get your WordPress account, just get your Squarespace account, whatever it is, let's go, all right? And then if you haven't already, obviously you're on Facebook, but I'm not one of those people that thinks that you should be on all the social media all the time. If you're just starting out, my suggestion is thinking about 2 social media platforms that feel really good for you. So for me, it kind of like floats in and out. I really love Instagram and YouTube, but lately when I was inspired to talk to people through live streams, Facebook became a place where I became a lot more active, and it's proven to get like pretty decent interaction. I've gotten to meet new people and have new people in my world. I really appreciate it. So YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook are kind of my jam. There's no wrong way. There's going to be people saying like, you have to have Twitter followers, you have to do Instagram, you have to do that. Frankly, I hate tweeting. I don't like it. You know what I mean? So if someone came along to me and said, your business isn't at the level yet because you don't tweet enough, I would tell them to like, you know, peace out. In a very kind and loving way, of course, because that's not it. That's absolutely not it. The reason that any of our businesses aren't at the level that we want them to be is because we haven't cleared the limiting beliefs or ideas that are keeping us from the actions that allow us to really go full out and play full out, myself included. I'm always striving for a new level, right? So anyone who says like, it's not this because of that or that because of this, no. That being said, social media is a really good tool to connect with people and let people know that you have a thing. Let them know from a heart center that you have a thing that you believe in, that you love, that you created in service to a need that you perceived out there, and say, hey, I have this thing. Would you like to know more about this thing? Or would you like to purchase this thing? Or would you like to come and help or like be a part of this thing? Whatever it is, whether that involves money or doesn't involve money, social media is really good. So my my suggestion to you is choose a couple of social media platforms. Unless you're already like a social media ninja, then just keep going out and being a ninja. Do the social media platforms, then find people again who are living the life that you want to live, who have a similar career, similar skill set to you, and then model what they're doing. Look at the hashtags that they're using, look at the times that they're posting, look at the kind of like messages that they're doing. Is it all pictures of their paintings? Is it all links to their SoundCloud? Is it funny quotes? Is it this? Is it that? Is it them like personally, like on videos and everything? I need to stop swinging. This is why I didn't want to. I was doing the pull earlier. I don't know if you guys saw it, like my first like failed attempt at this video, but like I was all backlit. It was awkward. It was not gonna work. But anyway, okay. And just do what they're doing. Do what they're doing. So this weekend I am going camping. It's my first family vacation since having a little itty bitty baby. But when I get back, I'm going to be doing a live stream more about setting goals. It's a really important part of all of this, and I want to make sure that you guys have like kind of like the anchor I've already offered you and spoken about with you. What other questions do you guys have before I wrap this up? Do you have any questions about Design Your Destiny? Have you guys been able to go look at that website? So Design Your Destiny, I want to tell you, if you've been enjoying these live streams, if there's something about these live streams that feels really good to you, I'm telling you, you're going to love Design Your Destiny. I really did create it because I know they have no idea what to do. They just know that they want to live their life with a paintbrush in their hand, right? Or live their life with a keyboard under their fingers, and they're going in there with that intention to learn what to do. And we're going to deep dive into some methods where you're literally going to design your destiny. There is a method that I use to like manifest results over and over and over and over again. I watch my clients do it. Even if it doesn't happen immediately, it happens for them sometime in the very like near future. It's not BS, right? And then we go through and we dig and like cultivate the mindset, and I go even deeper into the tools. I take live Q&A coaching in that container, and just help people with their real life examples as they're going through it, right? Like Kath was really sweet and shared a little bit about what she's going through, and it's gonna be like that, where we can just like deep dive, and like even when we get into specifics, I'll coach you one-on-one, but in a group setting until you're kind of like blast through the limitation, right? And I guarantee you anything that you're coached on or anything that someone else is coached on is probably going to apply to you. Like you'll recognize an aspect of it in your own life. Even when I'm in these situations, in group coaching situations, I see a question come up, whether like in chat or if it's like being submitted ahead of time or whatever. I'm like, oh, I already got that dialed or whatever, but then I listen to it on the call and I'm like, oh, I still have limitations, I still have room for improvement, I still have the opportunity to like really go into it. So there's going to be 6 calls. I'm thinking about the last call just being nothing but live Q&A coaching, so you can integrate absolutely everything that we go into. And you'll have the Facebook group. You'll be able to be a part of that group for the rest of your life, but for those 6 months, I'll be in there addressing questions on I don't want to say a daily basis, because I like to unplug and go off the grid every once in a while, but on an almost daily basis, right? And that's me living my best life and staying in integrity with myself and my values, and everything is serving really, really powerfully, and then serving myself by going and recharging in nature. So okay, so there's the 6 calls. There's a workbook. There will be, so the workbook is like divided into modules and assignments that will support you before the call, so you can go into the call with a certain framework. I deep dive into the lesson, then I spend a half hour, so there's probably like an hour going to turn out. Everything will happen exactly as perfectly as it needs to, and then there are going to be a couple of other bonuses. Like, I'm offering a suite of hypnosis tracks. I'm a Master Certified Hypnotist. Hypnosis is a really powerful tool, and especially if you're desiring to change some things into your life. I have 5 hypnosis tracks. I usually sell them in a bundle for $97. You're just gonna get this. You're gonna get like hard and fast manuals for marketing. I have years and years of marketing experience, so even after the course is done, you'll have like a guide to marketing, so you can apply those mechanics, start tinkering around with them, say this works, this doesn't, but it'll at least give you like kind of the fundamentals and the mechanics of to help you set up the things that do feel good to you in terms of marketing. And then you'll always have discounts for the rest of your life to other programs, like there will be like kind of a level 2 Design Your Destiny, because Design Your Destiny 1 is kind of like an introduction to the world of me and my program. Like, we're building the foundation, and then we're going to deep dive at the beginning of the year in January. Start your year off right, but ignore that. First of all, we're going to end your year correctly. And yeah, I think that's it. I think that's all I have to say about that. In the meantime, you're really going to meet your creative power squad. Last night I was talking about being in the right conversations. I'm attracting the right people for this program. No one's going to sign up for this program who's committed to staying stuck, or committed to being a failure, or committed to staying small. No one's going to sign up for this program like that. The people who sign up for this program are ready to make a change. They're ready to bust through the limitations, to write a new story, and to actually do the work and be around the right people to help do the work, to learn a new way of doing things so that they can live life in a new way too, right? So to live a life that we've never lived, we have to think in a way that we've never thought. We have to act in a way that we've never acted. And as you know from last night, our actions are tied directly to our thoughts. We're going to be going into that so deep. And if there is someone who ends up signing up who's the wrong fit, who's like bringing down the vibe of the tribe, I'm not into that. I'm not going to cultivate a community that isn't ultimately going to serve the container. I'm not into that at all. That's not a part of my vision, and my commitment is to show up, to cultivate the right container, to be there like from my heart, from my belief that artists literally are going to change the world. And it's pretty much that simple. So if you're feeling these live streams, this is, you're able to get an idea of who I am, what I'm up to, the things that I'm going to be talking about, just knowing that we're going to be deep diving into it even more. The class starts in the middle of October, and you'll be receiving all of your materials, including your workbook and your bonuses, on October 7th. We start on October 14th. If you're not able to make the calls live, that's okay. I record them all, and you have access to those calls for the rest of your life, forever and ever. Amen.